Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, what I'm going to talk about in this video, I just want to give you a warning, because I think out of all the cases that I've ever covered, and the thing is, I started covering this case and I will cover it till the end. But this is a truly horrific, horrible, unbelievable, unprecedented crime. So there's going to be upsetting details. This trial is going on for Kyle Clifford. Probably won't be mentioning his name very much. He killed these 3 women from the same family, a mother and her 2 daughters. And he did it because he couldn't accept that one of these daughters, so Carol is the mother in the middle, and the daughters are Hannah and Louise. He could not accept that Hannah didn't want to be with him anymore. They had previously been partners, and she had decided she didn't want to be with him anymore. And it's that old tale, rejection. You've got no right to finish your relationship with me. But he took it even a step further, not only seeking revenge on her, but on her whole family, because they supported her, in the fact that she wanted to finish with him. And the reason she wanted to finish with him was, believe it or not, because he'd been unfaithful to her. And also, he was, he'd started to become violent and possessive. Just typical, isn't it? He was the one that was being unfaithful. Anyway, so I just want to warn you, because the details are horrible as well. It is a really, really, I can't stress it enough. So I just want to let you know, if you think it might trigger you. Sorry, let me just got to turn something off. If you think it may trigger you more than just the fact. So the thing is, these women's stories need to be told, and this man needs to be showed up for what he is. But if you feel that that might be too much for you, then, it's probably a good idea not to watch this video. Now, I won't go into gory details, but having said that, the details have come out because this guy's trial is going on. And really, it needs to be known what sort of man this is. Definitely. I don't think he'll ever come out of prison. I certainly hope not. Well, he's not been found guilty yet, but he's pled guilty to the murders. Anyway, so I'm going to tell the story of these 3 women and the horrible end that he brought to their lives. Absolutely. Honestly, there's few cases that I've ever looked at that are as bad as this, just for the callousness of it. And also, just 3 women, all at the same, from one family. This man caused devastation to this family. Okay, so first of all, though, I just want to thank you for watching, for caring about any victim that we talk about in our videos. So today it's thank you for caring about these 3 women. And thank you for subscribing. Please remember to subscribe, because this case is not finished yet. The trial is going on. I will be doing updates on it as time goes on. I don't know how long it's going to take, but anyway, going to talk about that in a moment. So yeah, thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being members. Thank you for those of you who send me Ko-fis or have PayPal me or sent super stickers. Thank you to all of you that support my channel and share my outrage when I hear of stories like this. And this particular story, these kind of cases of like revenge, violence, they strike a special chord with me, because many, many years ago, I went through an experience like this, and I was just lucky to escape with my life. And so these cases strike a special chord with me. I was just lucky. I was so lucky, because, when these people like Kyle Clifford, he was you know, although it seems like he had a bit of a temper, but he was an ex-soldier. You know, there were no other, I don't think there were any real red flags of him, except for the fact now, just to tell you before we even get going, his brother is already in prison for murder as well. So, you know, you think about his mum or his dad and his family. There's two brothers from the same family have committed. His brother murdered a young lad that had scratched his car or something, some ridiculous thing. So yeah, you know, that's the genealogy of this man. But anyway, I don't think even so it was a red flag to what Kyle would end up doing. Okay, let me take the banner off and then I'm going to say hello to everyone and then we're going to start with this story. And as I say, I just can't say enough that, you know, just be aware. It's not very nice. It's probably the worst story, you know, crime story that you will have heard. So, or at least one of them. I mean, there's plenty of competition, I suppose. So let me just say hello to everybody. Well, get yourself a drink, get yourself a stiff drink. I've got a stiff drink tonight. When I was reading about this, and I was humming an orange, do I come on and do a live and talk about it? But I thought it's important because I've covered this right from the beginning, from when it first happened. People want to know what's happening to this guy, and we want to see a long, long sentence when this case finally finishes, an indeterminate sentence. I think this may well end up being a whole life tariff. I think it may well be. Okay, let me just say hello to everybody. Hi, David. Hi, Lorna. Real evil, David. You won't see many people more evil than him. Oh, well, David, wait till you hear what happened with the fire. Anyway, we'll get to that. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Kelly. Yes, Angel, if you're feeling a bit down, you won't definitely want to listen to this. But take care. Sending you lots of love. Okay, so now I think what's going on at the moment is, let's go. Let me tell you what happened. So Kyle was going out with. Kyle was going out with Hannah. Let me put the picture back up so I can show you which one is which. They met online, apparently. Puts you off, doesn't it? But you know, where you don't know. It's not because they met online. It can happen to anyone that you might meet. Unfortunately, these things happen all the time. But I think they met online. So this is Louise on the left. That's Carol in the middle, the mum. And Hannah is the girl on the right. And it was Hannah that was having a relationship with Kyle, unfortunately. And then she decided to finish with him for many reasons. And he just wouldn't accept it. So let's have a read of the story in Sky News. Now, what's happening at the moment is, so he has pled guilty to the murder. So here's some more photos of him. Oh, and this is Carol's husband, and he's a racing commentator, John Hunt. I didn't know him, but apparently he's a racing commentator on the BBC. And it's his wife, Carol, and his two daughters. Stop it. Stop. Tia. Come here. Sorry about that. There's a guy out there whistling his dog. Stop it. Now, really, seriously. So, so Carol is the mother, and Louise is the girl in the bottom right-hand corner, and then that's Hannah, who was in a relationship. So poor John, he has another daughter. He has one other daughter, but poor him and his other daughter, their family's just obliterated, practically, by this man, and in the cruelest way that you could imagine. So Kyle Clifford, he has pled guilty to the murders. I mean, there's so much evidence against him. He didn't, he had to really. But the moot point is the trial that's going on at the moment is he has been accused of RAPE of Hannah before murdering her. And this is what he's disputing. Now, I think he's disputing that because that would be, then he would definitely be on board for a whole life tariff, because for a whole life tariff, often there needs to, one of the factors of it is if there's any sex motive. So maybe he's trying to avoid a whole life tariff. I don't really understand why he's denying RAPE, as if murdering 3 women, with a crossbow wasn't bad enough. I don't understand really why he is denying that and making the family go through this trial. Well, and the other thing is he's not attending the trial. He decided he didn't want to attend the trial. This has got to stop this. He should have been forced to attend this trial. He should not be allowed to not be there. Anyway, the family have been there, apparently. The family are there. They've got to sit through it all, whereas he could have just pled guilty and he could have given them, a little bit of dignity in that they didn't have to go through all these details. But oh no, because he doesn't care about anybody else. He only cares about himself, doesn't he? So there you go. Okay, so let's read what they've got to say on Sky News about it. So a former soldier RAPD'd his ex-girlfriend out of spite. And, I think that's quite important what they're saying there, because it's not really RAPE. It's not always about sex, if you like. It's definitely not about love. But often it's just an act of, power, control, hatred, or spite. So I think it's very apt what they say here. So this was 13... Oh, Tia! Stop! So this was 13 days after she dumped him, during the triple murder of a BBC racing commentator's family, a court has heard. So Kyle Clifford is only 26 years old. God, what a bloody, what an effect he's had on the world. What he'll be leaving to the world. Anyway, he has admitted murdering 25-year-old Louise Hunt, along with her mother, Carol Hunt, 61, and her sister, Hannah Hunt, 28, at their family home in Bushey, Hertfordshire, on the 9th of July last year. Let's have a look at where, for people who don't know the area, we're going to just have a look at where Bushey is. And Bushey is a little bit famous because this is where George Michael was born. You should be able to see that now. And it's near Watford, not far from London. There's London down there. And this is where this horrible event happened, in Watford. Near Watford, in Bushey, near Watford. And they were at home, it was in their home. He called round to the house. We're going to find out how he got into the house in a moment. Absolutely. He premeditated this. He bought the weapons that he used. You know, it wasn't just a spontaneous act of violence. He planned it, and he planned how he was going to get in there, and he planned what he was going to do, what he was going to kill him with. It's all planned. So, he has also admitted possession of the knife used to kill Mrs. Hunt and the crossbow which was used to shoot her daughters, as well as the false imprisonment of Louise, who was tied up with duct tape. But for some reason, he's denied RAPE. Why? I'm not sure. What does he think? People won't like him if he says he did that. Are they going to like him anyway? I mean, for God's sake. You know, he could really have made things easier for this family. Anyway, he had checked that he was not at home. He checked that the father, BBC racing commentator John Hunt, who has one surviving daughter, Amy, was not at home before he launched this 4-hour attack. So the whole thing took 4 hours. So he checked to make sure the dad wasn't at home, and he also texted the dad from one of their phones while he was in the home, asking what time he would be home, as if he was the person whose phone he texts from. And the guy said, the racing commentator said, oh, it'd probably be a late one. Because I believe this was a Saturday, if I'm not wrong, but so probably the racing commentator was working. So, you know, he tried to, you know, he made sure he had plenty of time. So prosecutor Alison Morgan Casey said he committed extreme acts of violence against his former partner and her family members after she ended their 18-month relationship on the 26th of June. Clifford had hidden relationships with 2 other women from her, and her friends and family had supported the breakup, having described him as disrespectful, rude, and arrogant, the court heard. Jurors were told he started planning 2 days later. And I've got some video to show you of him buying these things. He bought a length of rope, and he later searched online for crossbows and air guns. At the same time, he was looking for video of a Wandsworth prison officer engaged in sexual activity with an inmate. Miss Morgan said it showed a very clear indication of the violence intended through the use of weapons and his sex preoccupation. So he bought duct tape, a crossbow, bolts and a cocking device, as well as a 10-inch butchery knife, which he had in his car. Just one moment. Sorry. Yep. Hello, I'm back. Okay, sorry, now I've forgotten where I got to. Okay, so he bought duct tape, a crossbow, bolts and a cocking device, as well as 10-inch butchery knife, which he had in his car when he drove from his home in Enfield, North London, to the Hunt family home on the 9th of July. Now, listen to this. I mean, it's just awful the way he got in the home. He knocked on the door just after 2:30 p.m, telling Mrs. Hunt he was just dropping off some of Louise's stuff in what was described as a ruse to get inside. He also had a thank you card addressed to Carol and John, which was later found unopened. So he's turned up there with his plans, like what he was going to say to Carol to try and get in the house. And she's let him in, you know, in all innocence. because he said he was just dropping off some of Louise's stuff. And then when she's gone in the house, then he's violently attacked her. And he had this thank you card addressed to Carol and John, which was later found unopened. So, do you know, the more you hear about it, you know, I mean, obviously, oh gosh, I've got to share the tab. Sorry. So, you know, obviously, it's horrible what he did, but I think all the details that we find out makes it even worse. And he's premeditated it, and he's planned his way of getting in the house, hasn't he? He's gone there on a day when Mr. Hunt isn't there, you know, so there's no man there in the house. He's deliberate, you know, it's sickening, isn't it, the way he's planned it all. So the card said, the card that was found unopened, he'd written in it, "Your family have shown me so much love and kindness, and I'm so grateful for everything." I mean, so that's what he'd said on the card. I mean, you just when you think it can't get any more sick or horrible, it does. So, yeah, he's written in the card that he's got for the family that he's gone there to practically annihilate. "Your family have shown me so much love and kindness, and I'm so grateful for everything." Anyway, from a neighbour's house, audio was captured by the doorbell camera, and it registered a long female scream, followed by a shorter scream, banging sounds, and the noise of a commotion. And over the next 3 minutes, apparently, Kyle carried out this brutal knife attack on Mrs. Hunt. So he started with the mother. He started off with the mother, and then he sort of moved on to Louise. Sorry, Hannah. No, it'd be Louise. Have they got that? Is that right? Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think they've got the name wrong on there. Or am I imagining it? Because it says that Louise Hunt ran a dog grooming business, but that's not Louise, is it? That's Hannah, isn't it? Because it says Hannah. Yeah, Hannah. Oh no, so that is Louise. Hannah is the sister, 28. Right, okay. So this is Louise, and it's Louise who ran the dog grooming business from her house. It was Louise that was going out with Kyle. So this was the sort of pod. It looks like a pod, doesn't it, in the garden where she did her dog grooming. And I wonder if she was out there while he was attacking her mum. Anyway, he then returned to his car after he'd killed Carol to get the crossbow and waited for Louise Hunt, who was working in her garden dog grooming pod for an hour. Oh my God, he waited for an hour. And the prosecutor said screams, male shouting and banging, suggest she was quickly in fear of what she saw, or quickly restrained, as Clifford taped her ankles and hands behind her back and covered her mouth. The court heard he checked her phone to see who she'd been in contact with and what she'd been looking at. And then he used her phone to message her father and ask, "What time are you home?" And Mr. Hunt replied, "Late, I'm afraid. Everything okay, sweetness?" And then apparently a loud whooshing noise was heard on the CCTV played to the jury as the crossbow is fired to kill Louise when her sister Hannah, so Hannah is the sister, returns home from her job as a beautician hours later. She went upstairs before realising Clifford was in the house and raised voices can be heard. And Hannah says, "Kyle, I swear to God." And he says, "Calm down, stop, stop, stop." While there is another whooshing sound as a crossbow bolt is fired. And Hannah messaged her boyfriend, asking him to call the police and saying he's tying us up. And then she is heard to say, "Oh my God," as she found her mother and sister. So before we carry on with that, I mean, it's horrible, isn't it? Hi, Bertan. It's horrible. It's so horrible. Let's have a look. I want to just have a look at him buying these things. So this is, I think it's important to remember how premeditated it is. You know, this wasn't, you know, a fit of madness after an argument. I mean, not saying that that would be any better, really, but of course it is. If it's the premeditation, I think, makes it even worse, doesn't it? Let's have a look. So this is him buying the items. And look how calm he is. It's the guy here in the black. Look, he's just like, oh yeah, all casual. Just buying a crossbow, or, well, he wasn't buying the crossbow, bought the crossbow online. Just buying things that will help me murder my ex-girlfriend and her family. I mean, what goes through these people's minds? You know, you just think, what? You know, there's not many people who haven't been, you know, hurt, rejected at some point in their life. I think we've all probably been there. But, you know, what turns this to obsession? The way he's sussing it out, is this the right rope to tie someone up before you murder them? I mean, for goodness sake. It just, whenever you see these sort of, you know, the way he's so sort of matter of fact about it all, it's just like, and he knows what he's going to do. They're always paying there with his phone, and just, I don't know. She had the absolute cheek to leave him. That's basically what it was. He was seeing other women. That's fine for him to do. But he just couldn't accept she didn't want to be with him. It's like, you know, he owned her or something. Hi, Annie. Hope you've got a stiff drink, Annie. You'll need a stiff drink to listen to this story. Now, the actual crossbow he bought online. Probably bought it on Amazon, did he? I mean, can you buy a crossbow on Amazon then? I mean, you know, we heard that the Southport attacker, he bought his knife on Amazon, you know, so there's got to be, mind you, I suppose, how can you stop someone buying a crossbow? But why would somebody even want a crossbow? What would you want a crossbow for? Or should you have a license for a crossbow, just as if it was a gun? Or it's just eerie, isn't it, watching him buy these things, just like, in a shop, normal, acting normal. He's not acting strange. He doesn't even look, doesn't look mental, doesn't look distressed. He doesn't look psychotic. He's calm. He's planning it calmly, and just looks ordinary, doesn't he? Nobody would look at him and think, nobody would look at him and think he was going to do anything so horrible, would they? Yeah. I'm not sure what this is. Is this him? Oh, no, that's another one. Okay, so what happened then was let me see, I've got a video of it. Oh, so then he went to the house. He did what he did, and I just want to show you this video of him walking away from the house afterwards. So bearing in mind, he's gone in this house, he's killed 3 people, he's RAPED'd one of them, and this is him walking out, look, with the crossbow. Again, calm as a cucumber, really, isn't he? He's not even running away. You just wouldn't notice him. He's not rushing. He's calm. He's just sent his soul to hell. Just murdered 3 women. And let's just one more time. Just always. Don't know what that means. Oh, sorry. Don't know if you can hear that. That's coming from somewhere else. Where the hell is that noise coming from? Oh, that's another video. I think I've just lost that. Oh, there. Everything's going wrong tonight. So whenever I just think, oh, I'm going to do a live, everything goes mad in my house. Suddenly people want to ask me questions. The dog starts barking. I need a little studio sort of tucked away somewhere. So let's go back to the Sky News. So now this audio will probably be released, I think, or maybe not, I don't know. But the jury got to listen to it today. But they haven't released the actual audio, but it's all captured on audio, so he could not escape from the murder charges. It was all captured on audio, and he was seen going in there with that massive, great big crossbow and coming out with it as well. So he couldn't get away with that. But of course, the moot point, if you like, or the thing that he's trying to get away with is the RAPE, because he's, what he's claiming? He's claiming that the the DNA that they found on the girl, he's claiming that that was from 18 days earlier when they had a sex just before she finished with him. So he's claiming that the DNA that it was inside Louise was from then, from before they split up. That's what he's claiming. Anyway, Hannah, that's the sister, managed to call the police while she was injured, and she was found collapsed in the doorway when emergency services arrived, but she died shortly after. So very sadly, Hannah died of her injuries. And Miss Morgan said the prosecution's case is that the defendant planned a terrible attack on Louise Hunt and her family, enraged by her rejection of him. And that attack included an act of sex violence committed out of spite when she was restrained and unable to escape him. Then what he did was, he then must have decided he was going to delete himself, and off he went to Enfield, which is where he lives. So let's have a look. I want to show you. So this is where it happened, in Bushy. He then drove to Enfield, which is where he lived, and he went to a cemetery. Now, I'm not sure. I feel like that cemetery where he went to, it must have meant something to him. Maybe the grave that he went to or something like that. I'm not sure why he did that. Why he didn't just do it at the site, really? After he'd killed the girls, why did he not just do it there? But he didn't. He went all the way home. Maybe at first he wasn't planning to delete himself. Maybe he decided that afterwards. But he drove 37 minutes then to Enfield, and he went to a cemetery in Enfield, and he shot himself with the crossbow. Now, unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, I'm glad that it didn't kill him, because I want this man to suffer. He should not have the right to go where those girls have gone. Like he's taken their lives. He was probably thinking, he could be with her in the next life. This is the sort of ridiculous things that go through their head. So I'm glad that he didn't kill himself, because I want him to suffer. So he drove to Enfield, where he lived, before going to a cemetery where he was found the next day. So he was injured for quite a long time. I hope he was in a lot of pain. And he's given himself life-changing injuries because he's in a wheelchair. He's paralysed, I believe, from the waist down. Anyway, he was found the next day in a wooded area by armed police officers. He shot himself with the crossbow and was taken to hospital, where he was first interviewed in September, making comments including "sorry" and "what I've done is atrocious." So yeah, he couldn't be interviewed for ages because he was so ill in hospital. So Clifford, who now uses a wheelchair because he is paralysed from the waist down, has chosen not to attend his trial, while friends and family members of the victims, including Mr. Hunt, are in the public gallery. His defence barrister, Phil Bradley KC, said that Clifford's case is that he last had consensual sex with Louise on the 23rd of June, the day they returned from his friend's wedding, and that was described as a catalyst for the breakup. So the central issue is for you to decide. The central issue for you to decide is whether the scientific findings can be explained by consensual sex activity on the 23rd of June or by RAPE on the 9th of July, he told the jury. But Miss Morgan told the jury the scientific evidence shows that the explanation is completely untenable, and the trial continues tomorrow. So this is what the prosecution are going to have to prove scientifically, aren't they? That the DNA that they found can't be from that long ago, that it had to be, you know, from that day. I mean, I don't know because I'm not a scientist, but I would hope that they would be able to prove how old it was, you know, or at least, you know, because that's quite a big difference, isn't it? It's, you know, nearly 3 weeks. So I hope that there's going to be a scientific way. I mean, oh, look, you know, that beauty, oh, it's just terrible. You know, those 3 lovely women all taken away from him. And not only that, in a very horrific way as well, you know, it's just horrible. Just, you know, he's a real evil man. I mean, one way or another, that man is, you know, he needs to be thinking about his soul in the next life, because I don't know what's going to happen to someone like him. Anyway, so yeah, I'm glad he didn't manage to delete himself, because then he would think in his twisted way that he was going to where, you know, his ex-girlfriend was. That's what he would think. He was going where Louise was. But anyway, he's going in a completely different direction, I think. Anyway, so what, I've got another video I want to show you. So this is a video of where he was found. This is a video from the Sun newspaper, and they're showing the cemetery where he was found.
On suspicion of the murders of BBC racing commentator John Hunt, this morning confirmed that a 26-year-old man from Enfield, North London, was arrested on Thursday evening on suspicion of the murders of BBC racing commentator John Hunt's wife and 2 daughters. Detective Superintendent Rob Hall of the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Unit said the investigation is moving at pace and inquiries continue. It comes as the cemetery in Enfield, North London, where triple murder suspect Carl Clifford was found hiding, has been reopened. The former soldier, 26, was captured hiding near the headstones in Lavender Hill Cemetery on Wednesday evening after suffering a serious self-inflicted injury. Officers have been searching the 20-acre Victorian graveyard where I'm currently standing after his car was discovered outside the same morning. He was found around 2 hours later with the help of a heat-seeking infrared camera on a police helicopter. Footage showed him being taken away on a stretcher and put into an ambulance. He is understood to have undergone emergency surgery for a chest wound at the Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel. Clifford remains in a serious condition in hospital today. I'm currently standing in front of the spot where it is thought he hid while the huge manhunt to find him was underway.
Now, sorry, I've just paused that, and I will play this whole thing again in a moment. But I think they did well, the police, didn't they, to find him? And then it must be really galling that they have to try and save his life. But, you know, I'm glad they saved his life, because I want him to be brought to justice. That was just too quick for him, you know, to just take his own life, take control. Again, he was in control, wasn't he? Not having to face up to what he'd done, not having to face the rest of her family, not having to face his family. I mean, I'm just thinking, do you imagine how his mum and dad feel? It's bad enough when his brother got, you know, his brother's in prison for murder already, and then they find out that their other son has done this. I mean, something's gone wrong there, hasn't it? I mean, good God, I mean, none of us are perfect parents, but I think when you've got one murderer and then your other son turns out to be a murderer as well, you have got to start thinking something's gone badly wrong here, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know what reason is going to give, as someone was saying there in the chat, I'm sure the fact of him being in the army, it'll be PTSD, or it'll be, you know, mental health issues. And Joe, I'm getting so sick of it. And I think, you know, it's really dangerous, I think, to accept mental health as a reason for doing these things, because there's so many people who have mental health issues, you know, who don't do things like this. You know, they struggle every day just to get out of bed, some people, because of their mental health issues, but they don't go and take them out on, to me, this is nothing to do with mental health issues. This is a psychopath. I mean, you think that's mental health issue, but this is someone who knew what he was doing, planned what he was doing, I think to me, someone with mental health issues, they literally cannot control what they do. He was very much in control. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was calm. He was collected. He planned it. Other people, if they're schizophrenics but lots of schizophrenics, lots of, and then I think there's a sort of current trend that I'm seeing that sometimes people say, oh, well, they were on the spectrum, or, and I think that's an insult to people that are on the spectrum, or, because they don't go out and do these things. But these people that do these horrible things use PTSD, autism, mental health issues as a reason, and I think it's insulting to people who are coping with those, and I think it's a very dangerous road to go down, because then people are going to start looking at people with those kind of issues with suspicion. This has got to stop. This, they're shouldn't be allowed to use excuses for basically being a selfish, psychopathic, spoiled brat who just can't accept rejection. That's why he's done it.
There are signs of debris, including medical gloves, in front of a large and overgrown clearing in the trees near the Cook's Hole Lane entrance, where Clifford is thought to have gained access. You can see where the greenery has been trampled down from people walking into the bushes. But it's not immediately obvious today that a huge police operation took place here just 2 days ago. Maintenance workers have also been cutting the grass and tidying the area this morning. The manhunt for Clifford began on Tuesday evening after Carol Hunt, 61, and her daughters Louise, 25, and Hannah, 28, were shot at their home in Bushey, Hertfordshire on Tuesday. Neighbours in the quiet suburbs said disturbing screams were heard as the alleged massacre unfolded around 7 p.m. It is understood that one of the victims bravely managed to call as they struggled to alert the force the suspect had fled. Another is believed to have sent a desperate text message to her partner for help, warning them to dial 999. Neighbours told The Sun that Louise had recently gone through a messy breakup with Clifford. They claimed she crashed her car into a lamppost due to stress and reposted a tweet about women who leave abusive relationships. Mama 3 Carol was also reportedly concerned about her daughter's relationship with Clifford. Tributes have flooded in for the family over the last couple of days, with neighbours describing them as lovely. Flower bouquets and messages of support have been laying near the scene in Ashton Close.
Now, it makes you wonder, have John and his other daughter, have they gone back to living? I mean, that's their home as well. That's their home. Where have they gone to live? That would be unbearable, wouldn't it, to live there? Or would it? I don't know. How would you feel? Part of you maybe would want to be close to where they were, where you had happy memories, where that was a family home that he's desecrated, by murdering those 3 women in that home. So where has John gone to live? Has he gone back there? Has he, the pod will still be there in the garden, where Louise used to do the dog grooming, etc. There, it's right there where his wife was stabbed and his 2 daughters were murdered. You think, how could he go back and live there? But it is his home as well. And there'll be lots of happy memories from there. These are the sort of nuts and bolts as well of investigations and crimes that we don't, how can I put, you don't see or you don't think about. When there's been a terrible crime like this in someone's home, what do you do? Do you sell that house? Then you've got, there's this sort of, sometimes people will buy houses like that, like for ghoulish reasons. I mean, I was watching that documentary about Gabby Petito. And that van that belonged to Gabby, where it seems like perhaps Gabby was murdered, her parents, they destroyed that van. They destroyed it because they didn't want it. They didn't want the van where their daughter had probably been murdered. But they didn't want anyone to buy it and then be driving it around like, some people would be like, oh, this is the van where Gabby Petito died. So these are sort of like the nuts and bolts, the things that you don't think of, the after effects of crimes. We see the crime and we see the court case and hopefully they get justice. But all these little, well, they're not little things, but you know, all these other things, nuts and bolts, everyday things that people have to deal with. What to do with the van for Gabby Petito? You know, what to do with this house will be a question for John. Then you've got other weirdos like the Stefan Stearns' parents, who just couldn't wait to get their car back, even though, you know, Madeline Soto had been driven around in it deceased. They just, we want our poodle ambulance back. They didn't care that there'd been a dead girl in there. A dead girl who, to all intents and purposes, was their step-granddaughter that they had a relationship with. They didn't seem to care. They just wanted it back so they could drive their stupid poodles around. So, you know, everyone deals with things in a different way, I suppose. But yeah, you know, he's sort of seeing the house there with the bouquets and everything just makes you wonder, what would you do? Would you want to go back to that family home after the tragedies that happened there? But also, you'd have a lot of good memories there. And would you have a choice? I mean, you can't just go and buy another house, can you?
One local resident described Louise as a beautiful young girl who was always happy and up for a laugh. Hannah's boyfriend, Alex Klein, shared a photo of the two of them together in a social media post last night. He wrote, "R.I.P. the love of my life. I will never forget you, stolen from me too soon. The brightest light in my life, my brave queen for life, until we meet again." His mother, Rosalie, told The Sun he is resting after the shock of losing his partner. At a memorial service in Bushy yesterday, Carol's friends said they are together in grief. Her friend Leah Holloway, who was there when Carol met her husband John, told reporters, "She was a lovely, lovely person. We can't believe what happened. We were 4 and now there's only 3. It doesn't seem real." She added that her sympathy for the Hunt's surviving daughter and her husband, saying, "They were making their way through life and their lives have been taken too soon. It's the thing of nightmares." Jockeys wore black armbands as a mark of sympathy for racing commentator John on Thursday afternoon, and there was a minute's silence at Newmarket Racecourse.
Oh.
6-year-old man from Enfield, North
Just
London,
one
was
more
arrested
time.
on Thursday evening on suspicion of the murders of BBC racing commentator John Hunt's wife and 2 daughters. Detective Superintendent Rob Hall of the Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire Major Crime Unit said the investigation is moving at pace and inquiries continue. It comes as the cemetery in Enfield, North London, where triple murder suspect Carl Clifford was found hiding, has been reopened. The former soldier, 26, was captured hiding near the headstones in Lavender Hill Cemetery on Wednesday evening after suffering a serious self-inflicted injury. Officers have been searching the 20-acre Victorian graveyard where I'm currently standing after his car was discovered outside the same morning. He was found around 2 hours later with the help of a heat-seeking infrared camera on a police helicopter. Footage showed him being taken away on a stretcher and put into an ambulance. He is understood to have undergone emergency surgery for a chest wound at the Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel. Clifford remains in a serious condition in hospital today. I'm currently standing in front of the spot where it is thought he hid while the huge manhunt to find him was underway. There are signs of debris, including medical gloves, in front of a large and overgrown clearing in the trees near the Cook's Hole Lane entrance where Clifford is thought to have gained access. You can see where the greenery has been trampled down from people walking into the bushes. But it's not immediately obvious today that a huge police operation took place here just 2 days ago. Maintenance workers have also been cutting the grass and tidying the area this morning. The manhunt for Clifford began on Tuesday evening after Carol Hunt, 61, and her daughters Louise, 25, and Hannah, 28, were shot at their home in Bushy, Hertfordshire on Tuesday. Neighbours in the quiet suburb said disturbing screams were heard as the alleged massacre unfolded around 7 p.m. It is understood that one of the victims bravely managed to call as they struggled to alert the force the suspect had fled. Another is believed to have sent a desperate text message to her partner for help, warning them to dial 999. Neighbours told The Sun that Louise had recently gone through a messy breakup with Clifford. They claimed she crashed her car into a lamppost due to stress and reposted a tweet about women who leave abusive relationships. Mama 3 Carol was also reportedly concerned about her daughter's relationship with Clifford. Tributes have flooded in for the family over the last couple of days, with neighbours describing them as lovely. Flower bouquets and messages of support have been laying near the scene in Ashton Close. One local resident described Louise as a beautiful young girl who was always happy and up for a laugh. Hannah's boyfriend, Alex Klein, shared a photo of the two of them together in a social media post last night. He wrote, "R.I.P. the love of my life. I will never forget you, stolen from me too soon. The brightest light in my life, my brave queen for life, until we meet again." His mother, Rosalie, told The Sun he is resting after the shock of losing his partner. At a memorial service in Bushey yesterday, Carol's friends said they are together in grief. Her friend Leah Holloway, who was there when Carol met her husband John, told reporters, "She was a lovely, lovely person. We can't believe what happened. We were 4 and now there's only 3. It doesn't seem real." She added that her sympathy for the Hunt's surviving daughter and her husband, saying, "They were making their way through life and their lives have been taken too soon. It's the thing of nightmares." Jockeys wore black armbands as a mark of sympathy for racing commentator John on Thursday afternoon, and there was a minute's silence at Newmarket Racecourse.
Okay, so that's where it is. That's so, you know, obviously today now, that was what's happened today. Sorry, I've lost my. So that's where the trial has got to so far. That's what's been heard so far. So really, what the prosecution have got to prove is that this DNA that's been found inside, you know, that to prove that it could not have been from 18 days before. So this is the onus, I suppose, is on the prosecution, isn't it, to prove that? So I don't know what's going to happen there, if they've got scientists coming along to talk about it. But he's saying, no, he did not RAP her on that day. But you'd think there'd be more evidence of that as well. You know, no, don't want to go into gruesome details, but wouldn't there be more evidence of just not just DNA? Anyway, they're bound to have some forensic examiners who are going to give evidence. So there you go. That's where we are with this case. So I just saw somebody was asking about Stefan Stearns. So I'm going to take the girl's picture off because I'll probably cut this video, edit this video and put, because I haven't done an update actually on Madeline Soto and Stefan Stearns, etc. for a little while. So I'm probably due to do an update. Let's put a picture of Maddie up there. Because actually it's more or less a year today. Not today, but it's just past. It was the 26th of February, I think, when Madeline went missing. Madeline Soto. I think it was the 26th of February when she went missing. Oh, God, the washing machines. Do you know? Oh, I've got to get a little studio somewhere where I can do nice, quiet videos. But the washing machines go. So when number one son put the washing machine on, he left the door open so you can hear the washing machine. Oh my goodness. Let me just go and shut the door. See if I can make it quieter. Gosh, honest to God, never mind. So anyway, I've shut the door. Well, the window is open as well. So anyway, just some people just don't even think that, oh no, you know, you're doing a live stream and, you know, anyway, never mind. Okay, so yeah, Madeline Soto. So she, of course, disappeared on the 26th of February last year. And then very sadly later that same week, her body was found. But before her body was even found, her pseudo stepfather, Stefan Stearns, had already, Mr. bloody sinister Stefan, he had already been arrested, hadn't he? Because we saw the humiliation of Stefan Stearns in the video, which was very gratifying to see him being humiliated, as he'd humiliated Maddie, because he had over 600 images, didn't he, of Madeleine on his phone. And, we'll get, again, we don't know all the full details. All the full details will come out at his trial. So somebody there was just asking about when is his trial. Now, it was supposed to be quite soon. But the thing is, he's going to have 2 trials this year. So he will have the first trial, which is for the pornographic material that was found on his phone. So that will be his first trial. And then later on this year, after that, he will have the second trial, which is for the murder of Madeleine. And the thing is, if he goes into the second trial as a convicted a convicted child lover, that would make it all the more likely that he would receive the death penalty for the murder of Madeleine. And he could, I think under the law, Florida law, I think he could actually receive the death penalty for the offences that is, his first offences of the child loving, etc. Because they've got very strict rules there in Florida, thank God. Anyway, his first trial has been put back 2 months. So his first trial won't be till May, it's looking like. But let's have a look. I just found this little bit of nugget of information. Let's see. So yeah, it's going to be delayed at least 2 months. But bear in mind, this is only his first trial as well. He's got 2 trials coming up this year.
For Stefan Stearns gets pushed back 2 months. He's accused of sexually abusing 13-year-old Maddie Soto before allegedly killing her.
The lawyers for Stearns filed dozens of motions, which caused the delay for the sex crimes trial. And Fox 35's Randy Hildreth joins us live tonight. So, Randy, you've been digging through the documents. What have you found so far?
Yeah, good evening to you both. So first, starting with what you were just discussing, that motion filed to push back the trial. And this is the 3rd time that has happened in this case. But we also saw motions filed by Stearns' legal team about what evidence they believe should be left out of this case.
State of Florida versus Stephen Stearns.
Stephen Stearns was not in court Wednesday for his pretrial hearing, and he won't see a courtroom for at least another few months.
The court has also received what is purported to be a unopposed motion to continue.
Judge Keith Karsten ruled Stearns' sex crimes trial could get pushed back until May. His attorneys filed a motion asking for more time to prepare, to interview witnesses and review evidence. And prosecutors did not object.
I don't believe that we would be able to proceed to trial until the defense has had an opportunity to review that evidence and these motions are resolved.
This case centers around Stearns' 60 sex crime charges. He's accused of sexually abusing his girlfriend's daughter, 13-year-old Maddie Soto, for years. The alleged abuse came to light last year when investigators were looking into her disappearance and murder. They say explicit images were found on Stearns' phone.
I want you to discredit yourself by saying you don't know about all the pictures that are on your phone.
Ahead of Wednesday's hearing, Stearns' legal team filed several motions in this case, including a motion to suppress evidence obtained from Stearns' phone. They argue detectives illegally seized his phone without consent or a warrant during their search for Maddie. They also filed a motion to suppress evidence obtained from a Google search warrant. They say the application to get that warrant relied on evidence that was obtained illegally. Now, again, the trial is set to start in May. And you may remember Stearns is also charged with first-degree murder in Maddie Soto's death. That trial is set to start in September, and he could face the death penalty. Reporting tonight, Randy Hildreth, Fox 35 News.
So his trial has been put back. the thing is, there's so much evidence against him. You cannot imagine that he's going to get away with it. But let's have a look at some of these other. So I haven't done a video. As
today, the man accused of killing 13-year-old Maddie Soto will be back in court.
At this time, Stephen Stearns will have a pretrial hearing. It's ahead of his child sex crime trial. And Amanda McKenzie is live outside the Osceola County Courthouse. And Amanda, worth noting, this is separate from that trial.
That's right. So he will be facing 2 different trials. And this one today is a hearing concerning his 60 plus counts of child sex abuse charges. And this trial is set to start on February 24th. Meanwhile, his defense attorneys have filed about 50 motions in recent days. Stearns is also facing a first-degree murder charge and the death penalty if convicted in the disappearance and death of 13-year-old Maddie Soto last year. The motions include issues like limiting victim impact statements. Another motion discusses possible challenges over potential jurors. And his attorneys are even requesting that the jury travel to the prison and execution chamber where Stearns could be held if he were to be convicted and sentenced to death. However, attorneys have filed a motion to remove death as a possible penalty. Stearns is accused of killing the daughter of his girlfriend on the day after she turned 13 years old and disposing of her body in a remote part of Osceola County.
Now, I'm not a believer in the death penalty, but if I ever saw anyone who deserved the death penalty, it is this man. I mean, this man, he's another one. Thing is, this is going to be a grim trial, a very, very grim trial, because the things he's done are horrible, and we don't know how he killed Maddie yet, or why he killed her, what went wrong, that all those years that he'd been sort of enjoying Madeline, really, and it's strange that he suddenly decided. You can only think, well, was this some sort of accident? Because why did he do it? What brought it on? Now that's going to come out in the trial, isn't it? And well, I presume it is. I mean, the thing is, Stephen Stearns, he's got no cards, he's got no cards to play anyway, because Madeline's body has been found, so he can't, sort of give up where her body is. He's got all that evidence on his phone, as clear as day, so it's like, you feel like any which way Stefan goes, how can he get, I almost feel sorry for his defense team, because what possible defense can this man have for what he's done? For a 13-year-old girl, and who they think he was probably abusing since when she was only 8, wasn't it, or something? So, what possible defense can he have? So his defense team have got a massive hill in front of him. I think really for him, the only thing he could do is just plead guilty, to say what happened, and have a plea deal to get the death penalty off the table. That's really all he's got, is to just come clean about everything. And then, he's never going to see the light of day again outside prison, but at least he may escape the death penalty that way. It's just, Madeline's little face, you just can't wrap your head around it. He's another one who's a true monster. But, he's an even worse monster, obviously, because he was in a trusted position with Madeline for years. He was like supposed to love her, supposed to, care about her. And also, I do think that Stefan he was a groomer. He groomed Madeline, he groomed Jen, he groomed the whole family, in my opinion. He did his atrocities through not through aggression. I don't think he did what he did through aggression. We've seen him talk, haven't we? He's a wimp, isn't he? He's whiny voiced, and he probably came over as being this really caring guy who really cared about her, really loved her. And that's even worse, because underneath, he wasn't anything like that. So he didn't. I think he abused Madeline through love, if you like, or through what his twisted version of love was, and she probably believed that he did love her. She probably thought he was her boyfriend. She was a young girl, and he would have found it quite easy to manipulate her. And then, apart from all the drugs and everything that were going on in that household, the prescription drugs. So a lot of drugging going on in that household, I think, of not only of Madeleine, but probably of Jen as well. They were rattling around that house. So God, it was all about, Jen's main concern when it all came up was how she could get in her tablets. They were obsessed with tablets. They're obsessed with medication. And I think that's how he got away with it as well, because I think he was probably double dosing Madeleine and Jen. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out. I'd be interested to see Jen now, because I personally sort of feel for Jen. I think, I don't think she is a brilliant mother. I'm not saying that because she should have been more observant. But I think there was definitely a lot more going on there, like in the drugging state. I think he was probably sedating the whole household so he could do what he wanted to do. But anyway, so it'd be interesting to see what Jen's like now. I mean, at the end of the day, Jen has lost her daughter, and she, not only that, she's going to be feeling guilty about it, because if she would have been a bit more observant and not, just on her own, in her own sort of trajectory of drug taking and what have you, and it wouldn't have happened. So I do feel for Jen. I do have a feeling. I don't condemn her. She's got nobody. I'll tell you what, you don't have to condemn Jen, because she's got to live with it for the rest of her life anyway.
He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. So far, no date has been set to hear any of these motions. Today's pretrial hearing is set to begin at 9 a.m. We'll be sure to let you know what happens. Reporting live from the Osceola County Courthouse, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Sorry. So, yeah, gosh, I haven't looked at this case for so long, It's been so long since I've looked at this case. But, I know, Bren, a lot of people feel that about Jen. I personally don't. I don't think she's equally guilty, but I know a lot of people do. I've got that... I've got... Sorry. Now that I've started looking at this case, I feel like I want to look at something else. Let's have a look at these interviews.
CSO case 24-011.
We'll have a little listen of some of the interviews. If you're all okay to watch, I've got into it now. I want to remind myself about this case. Yeah, I think we're going to see some justice this year for, well, definitely he's going down whatever happens, isn't he? So let's have a little listen.
1313 is Detective Hunt. Can you state your full name?
Stephen Stearns.
All right, Stephen. Real quick, do you sort of affirm that everything you're about to tell me is the truth?
Yes.
Perfect. So you know kind of why I'm out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Involving. When is the last time that you saw?
Dropped her off yesterday morning.
Okay. About what time was it?
Approximately sometime between 8:25 and 8:40 is when I dropped her off.
And where were you dropping her to?
I was taking her to school.
Got it. And it's my understanding that you dropped her off like a little bit away from school.
Yeah, she sometimes likes to get dropped off a bit down the road away. She likes to walk over and catch up with her friends or just not being seen, getting out of a hoopty in front of school.
Okay. And when you say hoopty, you're referring to your
car that she's embarrassed to be seen getting out of.
Got it. Okay.
He's got such a whiny voice, hasn't he? It's like, it's like real this man baby thing. I don't know why women like, what would you see in someone like Stefan Stearns? I have no idea. The other thing I just want to say about Stefan as well is his parents. God, I watched a video earlier on today about a completely different crime, which maybe one day I'll put on the channel. There's so many, cases that I'd love to talk about, but it was so interesting because the guy who had murdered there was a woman killed, and the guy that had done it, his mother would just not accept that he had done it. And not only he had murdered this girl, there was CCTV of him putting a golf bag into the car, which the police think had her body in it. Later on, her body was found. I mean, there was overwhelming evidence against this guy. Overwhelming evidence. And then it turned out that also his computer, he had child P on it as well. The woman that he'd killed was not, she wasn't a child, but, she was she thought she was his girlfriend, but it turned out he actually had another girlfriend. But anyway, that was, when the police arrested him and took his computer away, they found child P on it. And his mother said, no, well, he had that was because that computer was his work computer, and it was probably from somebody else at the office. It was nothing to do with him. And this was on 48 Hours, this case. And the guy said to her, do you really believe that? That it wasn't him that had downloaded this child P, that it was somebody else at the office. Oh, yeah, she said. She really, this mother, and listen, it's hard to accept, I would imagine, that your son or your daughter or, had done something terrible. But when you've got all that evidence right in front of you, so it just shows you how people can be in denial. We see it all the time. I think we saw that in the Delphi murders, his wife in denial, lots of people in denial. The man that murdered slit those two girls' throats, and everybody was defending him. But sometimes the force of denial it's so strong, and I just couldn't believe it watching this mother being interviewed. And I felt for her because you just thought, for God's sake, the CCTV of him putting a woman's body in his trunk of his car and driving off. And then this child P found on his computer, and you're convinced it's nothing to do with him. Anyway, there you go. What can you say?
Where did you drop her off at? Do you remember approximately?
It was...
You're good.
It was along the stretch of road.
Yeah, do you remember he yawned through this interview like he was bored, tired? He's talking about his stepdaughter disappeared. I think she just disappeared there and don't think they'd found the body. He knows he's murdered her and he's just yawning like it's like, oh, God, I should be having a sleep, really.
Kind of where all those communities are leading up to the overpass, and then the school's on the other side of the overpass. So I dropped her off along that stretch where all those communities are.
Gotcha. Is it like on the sidewalk or near parking lots?
There's a sidewalk there. And then they've got the church on the other side of the street, and then the overpass, and then the school. So it was maybe no more than a block away.
Okay. Is the school within eyesight of where you drop her off? Or is
the overpass was definitely within eyesight, and the school was literally just on the other side of the overpass.
Gotcha. So if you were to guesstimate it, would it be like a quarter mile, half mile?
Yeah, maybe like a 5-10 minute walk, depending on your speed.
Okay.
But she also likes the cool morning walks too. She was wearing her hoodie and she was feeling the cold weather, and she likes that.
How common is it of you to drop her off to school in the morning?
It's not common for me to do it most of the time, but I'm up here and I'm helping out as much as I can and working. So she was trying to get as much sleep as possible. I was doing the school run this morning.
Okay. Do you live here? Do you live somewhere else, or what's that look like?
I live here, but I split my time between here and my parents' place down south in Northport. They're getting on in years and they need some help.
Got it. Okay. For how long have you lived here with?
Now I've got all these interviews are on my channel. So I don't think we're going to listen to much more of this because his whiny voice just is annoying, isn't it? Let's see if I can just find any quicker, sort of shorter videos, but I probably have to go. God, that vodka's gone right to my head. I've just remembered why I don't drink much vodka anymore. Let's see. Let's have a look at this video.
Spotlighting the man charged with the murder of 13-year-old Madeline Soto. Stephen Stearns will be in court 1 week from today for a pretrial hearing. This week, he filed a motion arguing that Florida's death penalty is unconstitutional. Stearns' attorneys say that aspects of a Florida law that outline aggravating factors are overly vague and subject to being applied in an arbitrary and inconsistent manner. Now, Stearns is separately facing dozens of charges that he sexually abused Madeline and will go to trial later this month on those charges. Let's get you caught up on the case evidence. Here's Court TV's Cody Thomas.
We know digital forensic evidence has been central to the investigation into the death of Madeline Soto. And I traveled to Osceola County, Florida to get a firsthand look at the crime scenes. What quickly became apparent is just how much surveillance video the prosecution should have. So we will begin right here at the Venetian Bay Apartments where Jen Soto and Stephen Stearns and Madeline lived. We'll pause right here just to get a scope of the scene and how protected this complex was. First and foremost, a security guard is out front, so no one's coming in and out without having to check in with this guy. We see that a car right here was already getting checked when I was there a few months ago. Also, what we notice, cameras over here and a big gate. So this is not just a complex that anyone can roll into and roll out of. Now we'll move along to the back gate. Now this gate is where prosecutors say they have video of Stephen Stearns here yet again, more cameras, going in and out on the morning that Madeline went missing. To the dumpster, also in the complex. What do we have? More cameras, even here looking at the dumpster. Now, what's important to note about this dumpster here is that this is where police say they found Madeline's back.
I do think he didn't plan this. I don't think he planned this at all because look at all those cameras, like the guy's pointing out. He can't have planned it. I think something happened, some accident, whatever, for whatever reason or argument or whatever. And he's just panicked like mad. What was he going to do with her? He knows he's got to get her out of this gated complex that's covered in cameras. And he did it. So he sat her up in the car, didn't he, and tried to make it look as if she was asleep. And he said he took her to school. And she slept all the way there, didn't he? Came out with all that ridiculous story. But I think this guy, I don't think this has been planned. Why didn't he put her in the boot, I wonder? That's, because if he'd put her in the boot, at least she wouldn't have, but then he wouldn't have had a reason. He'd said he was taking her to school, wasn't he? So he had to make it look as if he was taking her to school. But yeah, it was a total cock up. He cocked up completely. He's one of them, thickos who thinks he's a criminal mastermind. And really, I think, do you know what I think his strategy is just to be as pathetic as possible. That's been his strategy throughout his whole life. Be pathetic, feel sorry for me, get people to feel sorry for him, his parents, his girlfriends, whoever, anyone, just feel sorry for me. And that's what I think he thinks is going to carry him through this. You know, just be pathetic.
Backpack and school-issued laptop. And also they say they have Stearns on video throwing those things away. This is around the time that she was found and declared dead, but what's important is this memorial is right in front of this area right here, because in these trees, in that thicket of trees, is where Madeleine's body was eventually found by police about 5 days after she went missing. Now, of course, all this was leading up to the eventual arrest of Stephen Stearns in March of 2024, when police picked him up on sexual assault charges. Stearns was then later charged with the murder of Madeleine Soto.
That was Cody Thomas, Court TV reporter, talking about this case. Now let's bring in the former state attorney in Palm Beach County, Florida. He is in private practice now, attorney Dave Ehrenberg. Dave, good morning to you and congratulations on your big move. I hope this means we get to see more of you.
Yes, Julie, great to be back with you. In fact, the first week after I went into private practice, I was teaching at Harvard Law School's Trial Advocacy Workshop with Linda Kenny Bodden, who was just on your show.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Joe Tacopina.
You were teaching there too. She was just, oh my gosh. We're going to have you two on the show. If we can coordinate that, you're both such busy people. We'll try. But that is really awesome.
It's one big... Thank you. It's like 2 degrees or 1 degree separation of Julie Grant. It's a big family. And yeah, I got to meet Joe Tacopina, who is quite an interesting character. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, I bet he was thrilled to meet you. Wow, that is awesome. I want to come next time you all are teaching.
You know, it's interesting because usually you'd go for the more serious one first, because after all, the murder charge carries the death penalty. You could seek the death penalty on the sex charges under Florida's law, although it's a relatively new law and they haven't tested the constitutionality yet. So if...
Oh, yeah. Now, I thought I'd heard that somewhere, that even just for the sex charges, he could get the death penalty. So that's good. Oh, and just then when we were talking about David Knežević, I found a bit of news about that. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Now, somebody said have a vodka for me. I don't think I can have another. I will probably have one more. But God, it's gone right to my head.
This defendant, Stephen Stearns, wanted to challenge the death penalty as it applies to the sex abuse. I think actually he may have a claim there, but the state is not seeking the death penalty for the sexual abuse, which perhaps is why they're going first. They think they've got him dead to rights on the sexual abuse. They're not seeking the death penalty. It's going to be easier and faster. Let's get that out of the way. And then when he's found guilty of that charge, they can use that as an aggravating factor to seek the death penalty in the murder case. So I think that's why they're going first with the sexual abuse.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for that, because that was a head scratcher. When I saw them thinking, what? Why aren't they going with the homicide case first? And we know that's what he's so fixated on. He's fixated, of course he is, on potentially getting the death penalty here. Do you think the motion his defense team has filed could have some teeth when it comes to attacking the Florida law that's currently on the books?
No, that is a reach, and it shows how desperate he is to avoid the death penalty, and that could give a little bit of satisfaction to those of us who think this guy is one of the worst, and the way he made Madeleine suffer, allegedly, is just so horrific. It's hard to even put your head around it, and now we see him desperately scared of getting this death penalty. So there's a little bit of schadenfreude there, I think, in what's going on. But I don't think he's going to win on any of these claims. These aggravate.
Oh, he'd be terrified about getting the death penalty, won't he? Because he's such a wimp. You know what I mean? He's like, oh my God, it'd be like, oh, my core temperature. You know, he is. The thing about Stefan, he cannot cope. You know, he could only abuse, you know, he's only tough when it comes to children, you know, and stuff like that. God knows what he's going through in prison. A lot, hopefully, because even though he's a big guy, isn't he? He's quite a big, physically imposing guy, but he's not a tough guy. You know, he's a wimp. He's a mummy's boy. He's spoilt rotten. He's all those things. He's never had to really, you know, support himself in his whole life. He's never had to stand up for himself. So, you know, the death penalty, oh my God, he would just be bricking it.
vibrators have been around for a long time, since 1996, and they're used continuously in capital cases. I use them many times as a prosecutor, as a state attorney. So the fact that he's now saying that after so many years of this, 28 years plus, that this is all unconstitutional, that ain't going anywhere.
Dave, thank you for that. This is helpful to know going into this as we're getting ready for trial number 1 to start just in a couple of weeks, if you can believe it. I have an interview clip I want to play for you now, Dave. This is from one of Madeline Soto's friends, and she's talking to investigators about how Madeline was wearing baggy clothing in the recent weeks before she vanished. And we know there's been a lot of speculation around the idea that she perhaps could have been pregnant. We know mom was questioned about that. So let's take a listen to what her friend said.
Did Maddie talk to you about if she was feeling ill or sick or anything like that?
No, but I did notice that she was wearing more baggy clothes than usual. Like, usually her, I don't know if this is weird or anything. I didn't notice that. I'm a hairstyle person. But usually she'd wear hoodies that were baggy, not really that baggy. And then I noticed she started wearing more baggy clothes.
Oh, so she started wearing baggy clothes. Now, the other thing is just hearing that girl, that is a child's voice, isn't it? That brings it home to you, doesn't it? That Madeline, because of course we haven't heard Maddie's voice really. You know, we can't hear her voice because she's not with us anymore. But hearing that girl's voice, then that's like a little girl's voice, isn't it? It just brings it all home. How young Madeline was, because I do think she, you know, a lot of teenagers, they look a bit older, don't they, on their photos? You know, I'm not saying she looks like she's 21, she doesn't, but hearing that voice of that girl, it just sounds like a little girl's voice. And maybe Madeline's voice was like that. It just brings it all home.
And more longer hoodies. I remember my friends did tell me, like, she did talk about her friend, like her stepdad, but it was only like good things.
Only good things. Wow. Focusing in on just that part at the end there first. Dave, what's your reaction when you hear this child relate that to the officer?
That part shook me, about only good things. Well, Madeline was a child, and she was sleeping in the same bed with Stephen Stearns. And, you know, to think that maybe there was some sort of Stockholm syndrome there or something else, I mean, you can see that happening. It doesn't at all alleviate his culpability. In fact,
you know, quite often children that are abused are in love with their abusers in their eyes. You know, I said it right from the beginning, and I believe it 100%. I don't believe that Stephen Stearns was an aggressive abuser. They groom these children, don't they? They let them think they love them. The children think they're in a relationship with them. So, you know, the friends saying, oh, only good things. Yeah, he was buying her presents. You know, he was like saying he was the go-between between her and Jen when they argued. He was like making himself out to be the, I don't know, like the savior of everyone, and all the time, you know, it was all just grooming.
Can make it worse because you see the control he had over her. This guy's in a whole lot of trouble, and he, I think, is going to be found guilty in both cases. And when he's given the death penalty, which I think is almost certain, I think extremely likely, the Florida courts are very conservative now, very pro-death penalty. So now this guy is dead to rights, metaphorically speaking.
Dave, thank you for that. Tell me, when we think about whether Madeline was pregnant, we still don't have an answer to that. I'm wondering, is this something that perhaps the state is withholding until trial? Do you think we'll get an answer to this at trial? I guess maybe the best way to ask it is, could she have been, and we just don't know yet?
Florida has very broad discovery rules. The defense can get just about everything from the prosecution. This is different than in federal court, where you have hide the ball. It makes it a lot harder to try cases in federal court if you're a defense lawyer. So if Madeline was pregnant at the time, I think we would know about it. The defense lawyers would know about it. It's hard to keep any secrets these days, especially with all the broad discovery rules that we have in Florida. So no, I think right now it's speculation. There's no evidence that she was, but it doesn't matter. either he did the sexual abuse or he didn't. And the pictures on his phone are just appalling and so shocking that that's going to be enough, in my view, to lead to a quick guilty verdict.
Dave, thank you. And last question for you, please, before we have to let you go. Do you think that this case will actually go to trial? Maybe I should say cases, because we've got two of them. Or do you think there's any way there could be some kind of plea agreement for one or for both?
Well, I think there could be a plea agreement if he accepts life in prison for the sexual abuse, but I don't think that's going to happen. This guy seems to be a sociopath. I saw in a recent interview with his parents that they said that Stephen Stearns lied to them throughout his whole life. Yeah, this guy is a professional liar, alleged sex abuser, and alleged murderer, and he's going to go down. In a high-profile case like this, I think this is heading to trial, guilty verdict, and then the death penalty in the murder case. And I think he's going to be incarcerated until he gets the ultimate price.
Sharp analysis, as always, from you, Dave Ehrenberg. Thank you for making time for us this morning. And again, congratulations on your move into private practice.
Oh my God, I mean, is she in love with him or what? Anyway, so that was interesting, wasn't it? That was interesting. Now, when I started looking at that, and then people were asking, people were talking about David or David Knežević, and that made me look. I've just come up with a little bit of news about that. So for anybody who doesn't know anything about, let's change the picture. Have I got a picture of Anna up here? So I haven't spoke about the Anna Knežević, David Knežević case for a while. Again, for the simple reason there hasn't been any news. Now, this case, this has for me, because this happened in Spain. So this is Anna Knežević. And Anna Knežević, she is Colombian. She was born in Colombia, but she lived in Florida. And when she was living in Florida, or before that, she married a Serbian guy. Let's put a picture up of Anna with her husband. So Anna married David Knežević, who was Serbian, and they started a business together in Florida. Very successful business. Very, a lot of money involved in this business. They started it up together, and it was very successful. Anyway, as time went on, I think they were together around about 18 years. I mean, quite a long time. Anna was 40 when she went missing, though she looked much, much younger. But again, they had no children. But let me just put a picture. I don't want to look at his face, to be honest. So this is Anna Knežević, a beautiful girl. She was in the prime of her life at 40 years old, and she just managed to escape from David. She'd been trying to leave David for a while. She finally got away from him. She went to live in Madrid, in Spain, for a new life. I went to Spain, didn't I, investigating. I did some on location videos about Anna Knežević and where she went missing from. When I went there, it was still not known what had happened to her. It had all gone very quiet. It was a very typical case of how it is in Spain. It was secretive. The Guardia was saying nothing. I was in contact with Anna's best friend, who was so frustrated, feeling like the Guardia weren't doing anything, and they weren't telling the family anything. They weren't telling her anything. Anyway, then suddenly, and her husband, David, he was in Serbia. When Anna went missing, her husband, David, was in Serbia. He denied all knowledge of knowing what had happened to Anna. And although they were estranged, they had a very good relationship. The divorce was amicable. There was no problems, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. So then it all went very quiet, as I say. Nobody seemed to be hearing anything, but unbeknown to everyone, behind the scenes, the Guardia were working with the FBI. They were also working with the Serbian police, and they were working with the Colombian police. Because then what actually happened was, when David Knežević, the husband, tried to return to America, he was arrested immediately at the airport, and it transpired that the police knew that he had travelled from Serbia. He'd rented a car in Serbia, taken the car and gone to Madrid, driven to Madrid, because you can drive from Serbia to Madrid. It's it's all land. You don't even have to get a ferry or anything. He'd driven all the way to Madrid. He'd gone in a ferreteria, which is a hardware store in Madrid. He'd had his phone. He was on CCTV. He'd gone in and bought duct tape and, all these things that people buy when they're just about to murder somebody. And he was seen in this, he was caught on CCTV. He was also then caught on CCTV spraying out the security cameras in Anna's apartment block. But he, like we were saying earlier, we'll talk about a thicko. So he had a crash helmet on. He'd gone into Anna's apartment block with a crash helmet on. But when he sprayed out the CCTV in the apartment block, he lifted up the visor on his motorbike helmet, and he could see as clear as day it was him. So the police knew it was him. They just had to wait for their moment to arrest him. And so all the time when it looked like the police weren't doing anything, the Guardia and the Policía Nacional, and all the time it looked like they weren't doing anything, all these investigations were going on behind the scenes. And they were liaising with the Serbian police and also with the Colombian police, because it turned out that then David had been reaching out on social media he must have liked Colombian women, because he was in contact with another Colombian woman who he got to translate some text for him, which he sent to Anna's friends and family as if they were from Anna, saying that she'd met someone literally on the street. I mean, do you know, as I'm telling this story, I'm just thinking, God, how did he ever think he would get away with this? So, yeah, her friend Sana and her family received these texts, some in English, some in Spanish, saying that she'd met this man on the street. She was going off to stay with him for a few weeks, and the internet signal wasn't very good. So, don't be surprised if you don't hear from me. But it turned out that he'd actually been asking this Colombian woman to translate these texts. And the Colombian woman had told her mum about, how she'd met this lovely guy on the internet, and he was Serbian, and he was this, that, and the other, and a millionaire. And her mum Googled him, because he'd given this woman his real name. Honestly, this is real. This is not like a Netflix program. This is this really happened. So the girl's mum Googled David Knežević and saw that his wife was missing, because it was all over Google as this, American woman, or Colombian woman originally, but American nationality, gone missing in Spain. And nobody knew where she was. So the mom contacted the police, and this is how he got caught. And he was just Mr. Criminal, thinking he's criminal genius, and actually as thick as two short planks, because he didn't realise that all this would get tied together, and that all these police forces would work together the way they did. It was brilliant the way they all worked together. So Take a deep breath, Vicky, because so he's in jail in Florida. He may well be in the same jail as Stefan Stearns. I'm sure they'd get on very well together, two thickos who thought they were really clever. So Anna, though, on foot. So then it turns out on the CCTV that the police had, not only was in Anna's apartment spraying out the CCTV, but he didn't even do that very well. So he was caught on camera coming out of the lift in Anna's apartment block with a suitcase. And the police think that Anna was in that suitcase, bless her. She was a very tiny, petite girl. So she wouldn't, according to the police, she wouldn't have been difficult to fit into a suitcase. Anyway, the problem is her remains have still not been found. Now, he went off then back to Serbia. So somewhere in between leaving Anna's apartment and going to Serbia, he has disposed of Anna's remains. But nobody knows where they are. Now let's have a look at this that I've just found. So this is the Serbian Times. David Knežević threw the body in the forest. The search for Anna Knežević continues in Italy, with Spanish and American authorities involved. Did he go to, where did he go to dispose of a body? Now, I've got to say, I thought that he would have disposed of her as soon as possible somewhere in Spain, because he won't have wanted to. Now, the other suspicious thing he did was the hire car, the car that he rented from Serbia to go to Madrid. When he took it back, it had the windows tinted. He had the windows tinted on the hire car. It also had different number plates. So that was obviously suspicious in itself. No, did he really think people wouldn't realise there was something funny about that? It's odd, isn't it? But anyway, you wouldn't think anyone would be that stupid, really. Because to be honest, my money in the beginning was on that he'd probably hired someone to do it, to kill Anna. I always thought he was involved in it, but I thought maybe he had hired someone because he had a lot of money, but he didn't. He would have been better off hiring somebody, wouldn't he? Because he hadn't got a bloody clue, had he, basically, how to kill someone and cover his tracks. He would have been much better, investing his money in a hit person. So apparently, this is 3 months ago. This is the first time I've seen this. But and it's saying that earlier this morning in Vicenza, in the Cogollo de Sendro area, the search for the body of Anna Maria Knežević, a 40-year-old millionaire who disappeared in Spain on February the 2nd of this year. So, actually, I missed that anniversary. So it wasn't. So it was February the 2nd. Was it February the 2nd last year? Wasn't it? Yeah. It was February the 2nd last year that she disappeared. Have you ever noticed a lot of things seem to happen in February? It seems to be, I don't know, it seems to be when people decide to do stuff. So Anna Knežević has been missing since February, and she vanished without a trace in Madrid. She had moved to the Spanish capital from Florida after a difficult divorce from her partner, David Knežević, and he is considered the prime suspect in her disappearance and murder. So search for the body is conducted in the forest near Vicenza. So why would she be buried in Italy? Now, why the police would be looking there, maybe they've followed his phone data. I really do think that the police will find Anna one day. They won't stop looking for her because, of course, his trial's coming up this year as well. So the Vicenza police, in cooperation with Spanish and American authorities, have been searching the former Costo Road since the early morning hours, which a car's GPS service marked as the location where David Knežević had a long stop. Now, they haven't found her yet, as far as I know, so that must have come to nothing. But it's interesting to know that they have been checking out all possibilities. So the investigation led to the blocking of the road by the municipal authorities of Vicenza. More detailed investigations will be carried out in areas that have been affected by landslides in recent months, making certain points easier to access than before. Oh, listen to this. So it's suspected that Knežević may have had an accomplice in Cogolo del Sendico, who helped him hide his ex-wife's body in this area. The last searches were carried out in August and ended without results after several days. Well, there's still not been results. She has not been found. Definitely has not been found. So he's been charged in a US court with the murder of his wife, Anna Knežević, whose body has not been found to this day. Yeah, that's just really repeating what I've... Yeah, so it was all about money, this, because Anna wanted 50% of, of their business. So she built the business with it. She wanted 50%. And he only wanted to give her something like 25%. So it was all to do with money. It was all to do with money. Oh, I didn't know they'd been looking in Italy. Anyway, let's just hope that, because of course it's not that he can't be found guilty of murder without a body, but obviously if the body is found, it does make everything, more clear cut, doesn't it? Because the police, his defense lawyers are actually saying that she could still be alive. She could still walk in at any moment, So it would be a lot better. Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for joining. Thank you. We'll welcome you properly on Thursday. Thank you. So what was I going to say? So his defense is saying that there's no proof that she's dead, that she could walk in any moment, she could be sitting having a cocktail somewhere. But obviously she is not doing that. Nothing's been heard of her since then. So, she is dead, but, and I think he's going to get found guilty anyway, because otherwise, what was he even doing in Madrid buying duct tape? What was he doing in Anna's apartment block? Spraying out the CCTV, I think they've got a lot of evidence against him. But of course, if they could find the body, that would just be the final thing, wouldn't it? The final thing. Hi, Admit. I'd say hello to anyone. I might have missed people coming in because I was off on one then, telling the story. Did I disappear? Well, I was never there. Well, I say never there. I'm not on I'm on the avatar. So yeah, this was definitely a financial thing. But just while we're on it, I'll just see if I can find any more about it, because you haven't spoke about Anna. Like, there's always so many things to talk about. I could literally just sit on stream for 24 hours a day. There'd always be something to talk about, wouldn't there? There's so many cases that we're following and follow it through to the end always. And this year, of course, the big trials will be Stefan Stearns, will be David Knežević, or Knežević, as I call him. What other trials have we got coming this year, coming up? Anyway, let me just have a look, see if I can find any more about David Knežević. I mean, I've got quite a long playlist about him on my channel. Oh, he was trying to get bail 6 months ago, but he didn't get it, so thank God. Because he's obviously a flight risk. Yeah, there's not really any recent news. Let's have a look at the... what we can have a look at are some pictures.
Federal David Nesevich, esposo de Ana María.
Now, this is Spanish, obviously, because she's speaking in Spanish, but so you probably won't understand what she's saying, but you can see the pictures behind.
El Henao, la mujer colombiana estadounidense desaparecida en Madrid el pasado febrero. Adriana Navarro nos tiene lo último al respecto. Muy buenas tardes, Adriana.
Muy buenas, Karines. Así es, la audiencia en esta Corte Federal ha sido muy corta y el acusado se ha declarado no culpable de la desaparición de su esposa Ana María Henao.
So they just talked. So this was when he appeared in court, and he pled not guilty to the murder of Anna.
La que atravesaba un turbulento divorcio. A la salida de la corte hablaron los abogados. David Nesevich, acusado de secuestro por la desaparición de su esposa en Madrid, se declaró inocente durante una comparecencia ante un tribunal federal en Miami que duró muy pocos minutos. Su abogada dijo tras la audiencia que rezan por el regreso de Ana María.
So this was his lawyer, and she came out, and the thing is, he was laughing and joking in the courtroom, and her family were in the courtroom, and he was laughing and joking. Someone asked this woman, why was he laughing and joking? And she said, he's a funny guy. You know, this is what I can't bear about these defense lawyers.
Sana y salva, que es lo que todos esperan.
We pray for her safe return and we hope that she shows up.
We pray for her safe return and we hope that she shows up. Well, no, because he took her out in a suitcase, so she isn't going to turn up, Jane. Or do you know, this is when these defense lawyers just drive me absolutely mad. God, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't sit next to him knowing what he'd done.
Por su parte, las abogadas de la familia de Ana María Henao dijeron que los familiares están destruidos y pidieron la colaboración.
So this is Anna's brother. This is Anna's brother here.
De la comunidad.
Hoy David Nesevich estaba en la corte otra vez. La familia está muy afectada, muy destruida por todo lo que está pasando.
So this is the lawyer, the Spanish look, because of course they are Colombian, so their first language is Spanish, and obviously this news has attracted a lot of attention in Spain because she went missing from Madrid, but also it's attracted a lot of attention in Colombia because it's connected to Colombia as well. So there's a lot of talk about this on the Spanish news.
Y la verdad que sí, agradecida a la corte y a la fiscalía. Y si alguien tiene información, por favor, que llamen a las autoridades para buscar justicia para relive their worst nightmare.
Esta es la peor pesadilla para esta familia. Están destrozados y necesitan información del público. Así que si alguien...
So he says they're asking for information from the public. This is Anna's brother here at the back here.
Quien sabe algo de este caso, por favor, díganlo. Esa es la clave para hacer justicia por Ana y darle paz a sus seres queridos. Ana María Henao, de origen...
Oh, and this was her with Sana, her best friend. She's the girl that I have. In fact, I should contact her again. I haven't spoke to her for a while, but I have had contact with her on Messenger, and she was distraught, you can imagine. You know, in the beginning, it was just like, well, what could possibly have happened? You know, I think, you know, you just can't get your head around it, can you? And then as days went on and they realised that Anna was not being in touch with anyone and that they realised that something had happened, they tried to get hold of David. He was just like, oh, nothing to do with me. I don't know what's happened to Anna. He wouldn't go to Spain. They asked him to go to Spain. And Sana went to Spain. Sana lives in Sweden. Well, she may live in Florida, actually, but she's Swedish originally. She went to Spain, and that was her who found out that someone had black spray painted the CCTV in the apartment block. And she went to the police and that, and it was her. She was getting frustrated with the police. But that, unfortunately, is the way the Guardia is. And this particular case, that's what I found out when I went to Madrid. It had been made top secret. It was so secret, they couldn't even tell you. When I phoned the courts to see if it was being dealt with at the gender violence courts, it was so secret they couldn't even say, yes, we're dealing with it, or no, we're not dealing with it. They just couldn't say anything. It was like, no, this is the way Spain works, for good or bad, that's just the way it is.
Colombiana, pero también con nacionalidad estadounidense, fue vista por última vez el 2 de febrero del 2024 en Madrid. Los fiscales publicaron recientemente nuevas imágenes que muestran a David en la casa de Ana.
Yeah, so look, there he is. It's clearly him. It's clearly him. Look, if you look at, you can see from his eyebrows. So he's in there with a crash helmet on, and he's, but they've got the video of him buying the spray paint anyway in the hardware store. So, you know, he's just a total idiot.
Ana María en España, pintando con un aerosol una cámara de vigilancia y comprando pintura y cinta.
Yeah, he bought it. They've got the CCTV of him he didn't have a mask on or anything there. We've got the CCTV of him buying the paint.
Adhesiva en una tienda del área. También afirman que salió del edificio de Ana María con una maleta, fotos que forman parte de...
Yeah, and she's just said and when he black sprayed out the CCTV, he didn't even do that right, because they could see, you know, it hadn't been blocked out properly, and they could see him come out with a suitcase.
De las pruebas presentadas en su contra. Ambos estaban separados, atravesando un divorcio complicado después de 13 años de matrimonio. Juntos eran propietarios de un servicio de soporte informático para empresas del sur de la Florida. A pesar de que los abogados de David Knežević afirman que estaba en Serbia, su país natal, en el momento de la desaparición, los fiscales argumentan que tienen pruebas que muestran lo contrario, que alquiló un coche y condujo casi 2.000 millas hasta...
Oh, see, this is like in happier times, isn't it? When they met or whatever, they look quite young there. But yes, all she's talking about here is she's going over what I told you earlier, you know, that he rented this car. Who rents a car in Serbia, goes to Madrid? They know he was in Madrid. You know, you don't rent a car, take it back with tinted windows and the number plate changed, and he thinks nobody will notice. Idiot.
España, devolviendo el coche más tarde. Un abogado de la familia de Ana María mostró un mapa con el recorrido que hizo el acusado.
Yeah, so this is the map of where he went. So this is Serbia, this is Belgrade. This is where he drove. Who does that? And he said through his lawyer he'd never been to Spain. He didn't want to go to Spain. He didn't speak Spanish. Why would he go to Spain? And there you go, he did.
Desde Madrid a Serbia.
It could be. So if you, according to the FBI's criminal complaint, they say that the kidnapper drove from Madrid to Serbia. I made this driving map of the routes from Madrid to Serbia, the south route, the north route. I'm hoping that somebody along that path will have seen something, or will have some video, or will remember something weird that happened at the side of the road, or you know, it's just something bizarre or strange, something out of the ordinary. If you know anything, please say something to the authorities.
Un juez federal de Miami denegó la fianza a David Knežević al considerar que existe riesgo de fuga. David permanecerá tras las rejas.
Yeah, so she was just saying there that they've denied him bail because he's a flight risk, you know. What else was I just going to say? So I'm sure the police, they'll all be gathering up all this evidence. Oh my God, I just hope to God they find Anna. I really do hope they do find her. Apart from anything, just for her family, you know, she shouldn't be just lying out there in a suitcase somewhere.
hijas mientras continúa la investigación y búsqueda de Ana María. Se le acusa de un cargo de secuestro en relación con la desaparición de su esposa. Si es declarado culpable, podría enfrentar cadena perpetua. Y en el noticiero de las 7 de la noche les ampliaremos.
Yeah, so she just said if he's found guilty, he is likely to be given life without parole. I'm sure I don't know, the death penalty is on the table for him as well.
Esta información, soy Adriana Navarro y vuelvo contigo, Karines.
Okay, so yeah, I'm glad I looked at that because I haven't looked at Anna's case for a while. So I'm glad that, hopefully, something will transpire and Anna's body will be found before the trial. But I think, at the end of the day, they've got so much overwhelming evidence against him. I don't think it's going to make any difference. I think he's going to be found guilty, whatever. I do think he's going to be found guilty, whatever. But, the thing is about finding Anna. It's not only about that, about finding a body, like as far as helping the case. The main thing, of course, is, for her family and for the fact she shouldn't be just lying out there in a suitcase. So, okay, so I ended up on a lot longer than I thought. I've done 3 different cases. I will be splitting them and, I will be issuing like the separate case that, of Madeleine Soto and then this about Anna. So just for those of you who've watched these, you will see them come up either tonight or in the morning, and just so you may have already seen. But anyway, I did have pancakes, Tracy. I had the classic pancakes of lemon and sugar pancakes, really healthy. But actually, they were lovely, and they turned out really well for once. Because I'm a bit of a hit and miss with things like that. I'm not very good with like recipes, so I tend to just throw things in and hope for the best. So anyway, I did it right today, and the mixture turned out right, and it was lovely. Yeah, really nice pancakes. I enjoyed it. Do you know that somebody's mentioning, I think it's Admit, about Peter Falding getting in that holdall? I can't stop. I will always, it'll always make me laugh. That I hope Peter's got a sense of humour. He should have a sense of humour. Knowing that, wasn't it 200 times? Wasn't it 200 times he got into that holdall? It just the thought of him doing it 200 times. But he likes to exaggerate. So for Peter, it's 200. It was probably twice. Anyway, there you go. It'll always make me giggle. That I hope he doesn't mind, but it just will always make me giggle. Okay. Oh, so yeah. Oh my God, I've been on ages, and but it's been good. Oh, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. I can't get talking about Peter. I can't. I'm trying not to talk about him. So I think he quite likes being talked about. I think any publicity is better than none to Peter, but Katrina, yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you're feeling okay. I hope you're all feeling okay. In this crazy world, I could start talking about Donald Trump again, couldn't I? And Zelensky and everything. That's just been, honestly, it's like we're living in the middle of a play or a film or something, isn't it? But hi, Moonbeam. I'm not going to. Anyway, so thank you so much. I want to. Thank you, Admit, for being a member for 5 months. I missed that when it came up. Thank you to Jackie for joining, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you everyone for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave your DNA on the like button. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, as always, may your God go with you. Bye.